I'm going, are you driving a car?
That's no language to use around your son.
Oh, sorry.
I bet it is.
Welcome back to our channel. If there's one name that captures the madness, defiance, and sheer immortality of rock and roll, it's Ozzy Osbourne, a survivor who emerged not just from the darkness of music, but from the chaos of his own life. His journey is a tapestry of tragedy, self-destruction, near-death experiences, and astonishing comebacks. From being a bullied, uneducated kid in the working-class streets of Birmingham to being cast out of the very band he helped define, Ozzy has walked a razor's edge between genius and collapse. He helped create heavy metal with Black Sabbath, only to be discarded, and then rebuilt himself into a solo legend, only to witness the death of his closest friend. He's lived a life that defied logic, one that many believed would have ended long ago. But he's still here. Even now, at 75, suffering from relentless pain, Parkinson's disease, and recurring injuries, Ozzy refuses to fall. His journey is not just a chapter in rock history, it's the story of a man who simply could not be destroyed. Ozzy's early life began in Birmingham, England, in the late 1940s, a place thick with the scent of molten metal and the clamor of factories. Born on December 3, 1948, as John Michael Osbourne in the poor Aston district, he grew up in a cramped home with 6 children. His father worked in a tool factory, his mother on a car assembly line, and money was always tight. From his earliest days, Ozzy knew he was different. He suffered from dyslexia, misunderstood by teachers and mocked by classmates. Even his parents thought he was just lazy or trouble-prone. At age 11, he became the daily target of brutal bullying, public humiliation that left scars he rarely spoke about. At 14, overwhelmed by isolation and pain, he attempted suicide, only to be interrupted by his father, who, instead of comforting him, beat him. In Ozzy's words, his father wasn't cruel, he just didn't know another way. The trauma didn't vanish, it buried itself deep. At 15, Ozzy dropped out of school, not by choice but because he saw no path forward. He worked odd jobs, plumber, painter, slaughterhouse laborer, but was fired from each one. Desperate for money, he turned to petty crime and was jailed for 2 months after a failed burglary. In that cold cell at 17, he realized he was on the path to dying forgotten. Yet through all of it, one flame never died: music. As a child, the Beatles had been his only escape, especially the song She Loves You, which hit him like a bolt of lightning. After prison, with no money, no training, and no real plan, he answered an ad for a vocalist. That decision led to a pivotal meeting with Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward. Together, they formed a new band, first called Earth, then renamed Black Sabbath after a horror film. Unintentionally, they birthed a genre. Their music was dark, heavy, and completely unlike anything else. While other bands sang of love and peace, Sabbath spoke of fear and doom. Ozzy's eerie, untrained voice paired perfectly with Iommi's haunting riffs. Their self-titled debut album, released in 1970, opened with the chilling track Black Sabbath, Rain, Bells, and a riff from hell. It wasn't a song. It was a summoning. A new era had begun. Later that same year, they released Paranoid, which cemented them as legends. Tracks like War Pigs, Iron Man, and Paranoid itself became anthems. But fame brought temptation. As the 1970s unfolded, Ozzy spiraled into addiction. While the rest of the band indulged but managed control, Ozzy lost it. Recording sessions became nightmares. He forgot lyrics, missed shows, and became increasingly erratic. Eventually, Tony Iommi, once his closest ally, told him the truth: he had to go. In 1979, Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath. For him, it was like death. Sabbath was his identity, his home, and being cast out destroyed what little was left of him. He locked himself in a hotel room, drowning in drugs and booze, thinking his story was over. But then came Sharon Arden, the daughter of Sabbath's manager. She saw something in Ozzy that even he couldn't see anymore. She believed he wasn't finished, that he could be more than just a fallen star. Her belief pulled him back from the edge. Being kicked out of Black Sabbath seemed like the end, but it turned out to be the beginning of an even greater chapter in Ozzy Osbourne's life. And this time, he wouldn't just be part of a band. He would become a legend in his own right. Ozzy Osbourne's solo career began not with celebration but with collapse. After being fired from Black Sabbath, he spiraled into alcohol and drug abuse, isolating himself in a hotel room with no plans to recover. Even Ozzy himself had lost hope, until Sharon Arden, daughter of Black Sabbath's former manager and Ozzy's future wife, stepped in. She didn't just love him, she believed in him. Sharon became his manager, determined to resurrect his career from the ashes. The first step was finding a guitarist who could help Ozzy channel the chaos in his mind into actual music, and that's when he met Randy Rhoads. A young guitar virtuoso with a gift for composition, Rhoads became the guiding force Ozzy desperately needed. When Ozzy first heard Randy play, while completely wasted, the brilliance sobered him instantly. Together, they created Blizzard of Oz, 1980, a debut album that shocked the world. Tracks like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley weren't just hits, they redefined metal for a new generation. The follow-up, Diary of a Madman, 1981, cemented Ozzy's status as more than a former Sabbath frontman. He was now a solo legend. But his personal chaos didn't slow down. He continued his wild antics, like biting the head off a pigeon in a record label meeting or the infamous moment in Iowa where, mistaking a real bat for a toy, he bit its head off on stage and had to endure painful rabies shots. These shocking stunts only fueled his dark legend, earning him the title Prince of Darkness. However, all the madness couldn't overshadow the most devastating moment of his life, Randy Rhoads' tragic death in a plane crash on March 19, 1982. Rhoads wasn't just Ozzy's guitarist. He was his creative anchor, his closest friend, and his path out of addiction. Ozzy never fully recovered. After the crash, he locked himself away again, drowning in grief and substances. Sharon eventually pulled him back to the stage, but the spark inside him had changed. Every year, Ozzy still sends flowers to Rhoads' grave. Though his career soared afterward, nothing could replace what he lost. Randy's memory, and the dream they briefly shared, remains etched into every note Ozzy plays, a ghostly echo of what once was, and what can never be again. Ozzy Osbourne's life has been nothing short of extraordinary, equal parts brilliance, chaos, and resilience. In a drunken rage, he once tried to strangle his own wife, Sharon, who later admitted she would have shot him in self-defense if she'd had a gun. That terrifying moment was just one among decades of extreme behavior fueled by alcohol and drugs. Doctors eventually discovered that Ozzy had a rare genetic mutation that made him more resistant to their effects, which may explain how he survived such abuse for so long, but not without consequences. In 1984, tragedy struck when a teenager took his own life after listening to Suicide Solution from Blizzard of Oz, sparking a lawsuit that accused Ozzy of encouraging suicide through subliminal messages. Though the case was dismissed, it left a deep mark on his career. Then, in 2003, Ozzy nearly died in a horrific ATV accident that shattered his bones and left him in a coma for 8 days. He had to relearn how to walk. As if that wasn't enough, a fall in 2019 dislodged metal rods from his previous injuries, causing severe nerve damage and forcing him to cancel his farewell tour. The hardest blow came shortly after, when he was diagnosed with a rare form of Parkinson's disease, PKN2. With relentless tremors and physical decline, Ozzy admitted he had never felt so weak. But still, he refused to give up. Relying on a cane and receiving treatment in Switzerland, he told fans, "I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere." At 75, Ozzy may no longer be the madman setting stages on fire or biting heads off bats, but his fire hasn't dimmed. In 2024, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a second time, this time as a solo artist, cementing his legacy as not just a band member, but a solo icon who changed music forever. His family podcast, The Osbournes, keeps him connected to fans, offering insight, laughter, and reflection. But perhaps the most emotional chapter arrives on July 5, 2025, when Ozzy will reunite with the original members of Black Sabbath for one final concert, *Back to the Beginning*, at Villa Park in Birmingham. It will be their first show together in 20 years and Ozzy's last performance ever. Sharing the stage with legends like Metallica, Slayer, and Pantera, all proceeds will support Parkinson's research and children's charities. For Ozzy, it's not just a concert, it's a farewell, a thank you to music, to Birmingham, and to the fans who carried him through hell and back. His wife, Sharon, says Ozzy's body may be weakening, but his voice remains strong, and so does his will to inspire. Ozzy Osbourne is more than a singer. He is a symbol of rock's eternal spirit. He laid the foundation for heavy metal with Black Sabbath, helping spawn bands like Metallica, Iron Maiden, and Judas Priest. Tracks like Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs didn't just define a genre, they became generational anthems. As a solo artist, he reinvented himself with albums like Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, and No More Tears, with Crazy Train becoming one of the most recognizable guitar riffs in history. Beyond music, Ozzy became a cultural phenomenon through his reality show The Osbournes, showing fans the wild man behind the curtain, a flawed but loving husband and father. Awards followed, Grammys, Lifetime Achievement Honors, and global recognition. Yet for Ozzy, the greatest reward remains the loyalty of his fans, those who sang with him, laughed with him, cried with him, and never let go. From a bullied kid in Birmingham to the immortal Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne's journey is a testament to survival, transformation, and the soul of rock and roll. What part of Ozzy's journey moves you most? His music, his madness, or his refusal to fall? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about the legends who shaped music forever. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.